The Renaissance, a period of cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages, is generally considered to have begun in Italy in the 14th century and lasted until the 17th century. It promoted the rediscovery of classical philosophy, literature, and art. The Renaissance was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. Generally described as taking place from the 14th century to the 17th century, the Renaissance promoted the rediscovery of classical philosophy, literature, and art. Dear valued supporter, we appreciate your ongoing support for our channel. For those seeking additional ways to contribute, we offer subscriptions on Patreon and Boosty, providing exclusive perks as a token of gratitude. Join our community and let's enhance this journey together. If you prefer an alternative, PayPal donations are also warmly welcomed. Your generosity helps maintain and improve our content. Whether through Patreon, Boosty, or PayPal, your support is crucial in sustaining our channel. Thank you for considering these options. Links will be indicated in the description of the video. Origins and development. The Renaissance began in Florence, Italy, in the late 14th century, inspired by a renewed interest in the classical art and literature of ancient Greece and Rome. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 brought many Greek scholars and texts to Italy, further stimulating interest in classical learning. Florence, a city-state that boasted wealth from banking and trade, became a hub of Renaissance culture under the patronage of the Medici family, among others. One of the key figures in the early Renaissance was Petrarch, 1304 to 1374, often called the father of humanism. Petrarch's philosophy centered on the study of classical texts in their original languages, which became a cornerstone of Renaissance education. His works, alongside those of Dante Alighieri and Giovanni Boccaccio, formed a foundation for the Italian Renaissance. Artistic achievements. The Renaissance is perhaps best known for its artistic achievements. Art during this period saw a shift from the religious-focused themes of the Middle Ages to more secular and human-centered subjects. Artists sought to capture the beauty of the natural world and the complexity of human emotion. In Florence, the early 15th century saw the rise of such artists as Masaccio, whose frescoes displayed a new level of realism and use of perspective. Filippo Brunelleschi, a contemporary of Masaccio, is credited with developing linear perspective, which became a fundamental aspect of Renaissance art. The High Renaissance, spanning the late 15th and early 16th centuries, brought forth some of the most renowned artists in history. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo Buonarroti, and Raphael Sanzio created works that epitomize the Renaissance ideal of combining art and science. Leonardo's Last Supper and Mona Lisa, Michelangelo's David and the Sistine Chapel ceiling, and Raphael's School of Athens are quintessential examples of Renaissance art. Humanism and education. Humanism, a core element of the Renaissance, emphasized the value of human potential and achievements. Humanists believed in the study of the humanities, grammar, rhetoric, poetry, history, and moral philosophy, drawing inspiration from classical texts. The revival of classical learning also influenced education. The creation of humanist schools, where students studied classical languages and texts, aimed to produce well-rounded, virtuous citizens. The University of Padua and the University of Bologna became centers of Renaissance learning, attracting students from across Europe. Scientific advancements. The Renaissance was a time of great scientific exploration and discovery. Figures such as Copernicus, Galileo, and Vesalius made groundbreaking advancements that challenged traditional views of the universe and the human body. Nicholas Copernicus, 1473 to 1543, proposed the heliocentric model of the solar system, which placed the Sun, rather than the Earth, at its center. This was a radical departure from the geocentric model that had dominated for centuries. Galileo Galilei, 1564 to 1642, made significant contributions to astronomy, physics, and scientific methodology. His improvements to the telescope allowed for unprecedented observations of the heavens, and his support of the heliocentric model brought him into conflict with the Catholic Church. Andreas Vesalius, 1514 to 1564, revolutionized the study of anatomy with his detailed and accurate descriptions of the human body, published in De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the fabric of the human body. Political and economic changes. The Renaissance also brought about significant political and economic changes. The rise of powerful city-states like Florence, Venice, and Milan facilitated the flow of ideas and trade. Wealthy merchants and bankers, such as the Medici family in Florence, became patrons of the arts and learning, funding artists, scholars, and projects. Politically, the Renaissance saw the development of more centralized states and the decline of feudalism. Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince, written in 1513, offered pragmatic advice on statecraft and has been interpreted as a reflection of the political realities of the time. The economic landscape of Europe was transformed by the discovery of new trade routes and the colonization of the Americas. These developments brought unprecedented wealth and resources to European states, fueling further growth and exploration. Literature and philosophy. The Renaissance produced a wealth of literature that reflected the humanist ideals of the period. In addition to Petrarch, other notable writers included Baldassare Castiglione, whose The Book of the Courtier outlined the qualities of the ideal Renaissance gentleman, and Niccolò Machiavelli, whose The Prince remains a seminal work on political theory. Philosophically, the Renaissance saw a renewed interest in Platonic and Aristotelian thought. The Platonic Academy in Florence, founded by Cosimo de' Medici and led by Marsilio Ficino, sought to revive the teachings of Plato. Ficino's translations and commentaries on Plato were widely influential. The work of Desiderius Erasmus, a Dutch humanist, also had a profound impact. His writings, including In Praise of Folly and his Greek edition of the New Testament, emphasized the importance of a return to simple, pious Christianity, free from the dogma and corruption he perceived in the Church, spread an impact. The ideas and culture of the Italian Renaissance spread throughout Europe in the late 15th and 16th centuries. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg around 1440 played a crucial role in this dissemination. Printed books allowed for the rapid and widespread distribution of new ideas, making Renaissance knowledge accessible to a broader audience. In Northern Europe, the Renaissance took on a slightly different character, often referred to as the Northern Renaissance. It was marked by a focus on Christian humanism, which sought to reform society and the Church based on humanist principles. Figures like Erasmus and Thomas More, author of Utopia, were central to this movement. In England, the Renaissance blossomed during the reign of Elizabeth I. The period saw the flourishing of English literature, particularly drama. William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Ben Jonson produced works that remain central to the English literary canon. The Renaissance was a pivotal period in European history that saw a flourishing of art, science, literature, and thought. It marked a departure from the medieval focus on the church and the afterlife, placing a new emphasis on human potential and achievement. The Renaissance laid the foundations for the modern age, influencing subsequent periods of cultural and intellectual growth, including the Enlightenment and the Scientific Revolution.